Cypress Financial Group presents the Retirement Roundtable Podcast with John Scallan. Get more at cypressfinancial.net. Now, let's get to the show.
My name is Mark Owens. Mr. John Scallan, how you feeling this weekend? Hope it's treating you well.
Another incredible Saturday in southern Louisiana. Is there anything better, Mark?
We joked at the beginning of the football season that, hey, John, this could be the year that we meet up in the SEC championship. Well, a lot of it's got to happen. John, I'm starting to think we may meet up in the SEC championship with the way this season's going.
Oh, boy, that would be quite exciting. I guess we'd end up in close to your town in good old Atlanta. How did that happen? That seems kind of like a home field advantage.
I don't know what
for
you're
the
talking
SEC
about.
championship.
I don't know what you're talking about, John. You can put faces to the voices that you hear every weekend when you visit cypressfinancial.net. Again, CYPRESS. cypressfinancial.net. And John, interesting story coming from Wallet Hub, and they listed the top 200 cities across the country to retire in. And the metrics were cost of living, healthcare, crime statistics, and New Orleans specifically, but southern Louisiana came in at number 52 on the list. And you hear 52 and you're like, well, that feels pretty high, but this was out of 200 cities. That's not a bad number. So, in your estimation, why do people enjoy retiring in the great state of Louisiana and in southern Louisiana?
Oh, Mark, it's a whole lot. I mean, being here my whole life, I think I have a real unique perspective in terms of what makes the entire state really special, especially southern Louisiana. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, let's talk about economics, right? The cost of living here, the cost of housing, the cost of just living your life, enjoying your life is pretty statistically lower than some of the, the big metropolitan cities. I mean, you've got a professional football team, you've got a professional basketball team, you've got the, arguably one of the greatest, most storied college football programs just an hour down the road. Don't laugh. And look, I'm just going to throw this out there. It's the people. Mm-hmm. I always, I never forget I was on a flight coming back from the East Coast, and I'm sitting in, my seat, and some guy in a, looked like a $15,000 Canali suit walks in. He sits down next to me. We're headed back to New Orleans. I am absolutely convinced that he's on a business trip. And I casually say, where are you headed to? Business? And he looked at me in this thick Boston accent. He said, I married a girl from New Orleans and she'll never leave her mama, right? A couple of beers later, I asked him, well, what's it been like? He said, the friendliest people in the world. They invite you into their home. They feed you. He said, it's just the culture that I've never experienced. And I think once people do experience that, the people who we are, that we care about each other, the passion that we have for life. I mean, just up the road in Lafayette, I heard this incredible French saying called "joie de vivre," love of life. And I think that's really the whole state, Mark.
The culture, the southern hospitality, the food, and just the good people are why it's the number 50-52 spot on Wallet Hub's best places to retire in the country out of 200. So if you know that this has been your home, it's always been your home, or maybe you've just been here, but this is where I want to call my forever home. Let's have this discussion with John Scallan and the team at Cypress Financial. 504-732-1001 to help you build income that lasts as long as you do in retirement. And John, we got a fascinating phone call. It's from a young lady. And she said, John, I'm not calling for me per se. So I'm calling for my ex-husband. She goes, now, obviously, we're still pretty close. But she said, he's got 7 figures in his 401k. And I know because I was married to him for a long time, he's not going to do anything about it. That's why I'm calling for him, because I know he needs some help. I'm worried about the kids, the grandkids, their legacy, but I'm worried about him as well. And John, I heard a little snippet of that phone call, and I thought, wow. Well, first and foremost, there's a lot of layers to that conversation. But let's start with the power and how important it is for both sides of the marriage to be on the same page.
Oh, Mark, that is absolutely critical. I mean, some of the conversations we have with couples, we ask both of them, not as a couple, but actually individually. What does retirement look like to you, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client? What does it look like to you? We're trying to, really listen to find out, are these, is this couple synced up? Do they both want to travel? Do they both want to spend more time at the university they both graduated from? It's rare, but occasionally there is a little bit of, I would say, a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Take that a little bit further. I think, right now I'm talking about kind of the emotional side of retirement, the dream side of retirement. But listen, when it comes down to the financial side of retirement, couples need to be on the same page. The big thing is how do we feel about risk? If one of the partners wants to really lay out an aggressive strategy and really try to multiply their wealth so that they can leave a significant amount to future generations or have enough money to travel the world, and the other party just seems to be a little more risk averse, that's a situation that really needs discussion. It needs thought, and a middle ground needs to be found, Mark.
504-732-1001. Let's get to that emotional side of it, John, because I know one of your mission statements is to help take the emotions out of retirement planning, but that can be hard. Is it a challenge for you to get both members on the same page, especially for retirement planning?
Well, Mark, there are some conversations with many of our clients that I'm obviously not privy to. From our perspective, the biggest concern in retirement, I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 couples, is simply, will I run out of money? Is there a chance that we're going to run out of money? Is there a chance that Social Security may be impacted? That answer is yes, there is a chance. Is there a chance that we could have the lost decade of investing, a 10-year period within the last 20 or 30 years where portfolios as an average made very, very little? These are the things that we have to address. What can we do? How can we turn the knobs a little bit and at least make sure that all of your expenses, everything that you're going to need to run your household and sleep easy at night, is coming from guaranteed sources of income, whether the couple lives to be 110 or there is, an early passing of one of the partners. We always want to address, do we have enough income to last for a lifetime to where our expenses are always going to be covered?
I know every weekend we get calls from adults that just say, John, I just want to make sure I don't run out of money in retirement. 504-732-1001. Let's talk about a 401k here for a second, because as this young lady called, she was worried about her ex-husband's 401k. So what are some of the conversations that you're having right now about 401k strategies and any adjustments that could be made?
Mark, the big one is always risk. Are we too aggressive? Are we not taking enough risk for our age, for our assets, for our debt load? Another big one right behind that is, are we, really not paying attention to the fees? The fees are always a huge number. I know it seems like a little bitty number on your statement, but Mark, we always talk about that 401k x-ray, what it looks like, some of the services that we provide. Listen, the first thing we do when we meet a client and we establish a relationship, before we start talking about, what the solutions are, we say, look, let's look at your current assets. And more often than not, the biggest asset in the entire portfolio is a 401k. Many people have been plowing money into this for literally decades. And we want to make sure we take your portfolio and we score it from 1 to 100 to make sure that you understand, that you actually know how much risk you're taking. Once we've established that, that is just a springboard for multiple conversations about how to design a portfolio from this point forward that's going to last a lifetime.
John, how often do you find that a lot of adults don't really understand how their 401k is structured?
Well, it's a fair amount. I mean, people are creatures of habit. You know, you set up your 401k, you start pushing money into it. You know, many people have the experience of continuing to get better, more skilled at their profession. They start making more money, hence pushing more money into these portfolios. If they had the opportunity to take a portion of that and push it into a Roth account, many people have done that. But again, it's fairly common where people have invested in a few funds, rarely looked at it, okay? And over time, the time value of money, it works like a snowball, and suddenly they're nearing retirement, and there's a big number in their portfolio. So short answer is yes, it has happened. You know, we really encourage every single person that we talk to, look at your statement, look at that pie chart, either figure out or let us help you figure out how much is in stock, how much is in bonds. Listen, we've had clients walk into the door who've spent 20 years in a 401k when 100% of the money was in the fixed account. I mean, think about it, Mark. It's only been the last, let's call it 3 or 4 years where we've had a real strong uptick in, money market accounts, savings accounts, CD rates. I mean, before that, I think you go back as far as 2010, where we were looking at, near zero interest rates on a lot of these investments. In that case, it has really worked against the investor. They were just too conservative. Now, with that being said, we established the new risk profile for their age, for their experience, for the amount of money they have, for how much debt they have. Then we reposition assets from there.
From this one young lady that called a couple of weeks ago, we've gotten a couple of talking points, but I guess the overall theme of why she called is she was helping out her ex-husband, which brings up a very uncomfortable conversation for a lot of people, and that's gray divorce. But John, it doesn't always have to be negative.
Money is a highly emotional subject. I mean, I think this, we talk about these rare situations, black swan events in the market. This is like a black swan divorce, very, very rare. I mean, it was fascinating that she was still looking after him. Their relationship, from what we found out, was still very amicable. Whether you're married or not, the fact that two partners, and in this case, these partners were not married anymore, but they had a lot of family. They had assets together. Listen, she was concerned for him. I'm sure she was concerned for the kids. Communication about money is critical. Listen, I know in my household, if I come home at the end of the day, I'm a little bit wrung out, I'm stressed out, and Melissa wants to talk money, I usually say, honey, let's put this off until tomorrow or until the weekend. Right. Listen, it can be very stressful, but just remember, there are always strategies that can ease some of this financial duress. There are always guaranteed income sources that you can lean on. There are always ways to de-risk your portfolio and take some of the volatility out of the money you have in the market. It starts with clear communication, clear understanding of each member of the family's goal, and then developing the right plan with the right financial guidance to get you where you need to be.
There's 3 key pillars that we really focus on every weekend here on the Retirement Roundtable, all powered by Cypress Financial. Your tax strategy, risk, and income. And I want to continue this conversation about income. You mentioned it a couple of minutes ago about those that are lucky enough to have a pension. But what about, John, for those that are not lucky enough to have a pension, but we need that additional source of income in retirement other than a 401k, other than a Social Security? What other sources of income are available?
Oh, God, Mark, especially in today's day and age, there are so many different options. You know, there are these very simple, solid, well-built annuity contracts. They're called a fixed annuity. And listen, if this, again, I've used this analogy before. If annuities were like ice cream, a fixed annuity would be one scoop of vanilla ice cream. No bells, no whistles, no fees, just pure accumulation, tax deferred to where you don't get that 1099 at the end of every year, and you're getting as high as 6% interest on these products. Listen, these are some of the highest rates that we've had in over a decade, almost 20 years. Because of the environment we're in right now, there are incredible safe ways to de-risk your portfolio and to get a steady stream of income. Listen, we always talk about a concept called dead assets. And to me, dead assets are assets that are not outpacing inflation. Again, historically, since 1975, inflation has averaged right at about 3%. If you're getting 4.5%, 5%, 6%, you are doubling the pace of the cost of living increases. These are assets that are performing. If you've got money stuck in a savings account at a bank or somewhere where you're south of 3%, you're actually going backwards. All of these little ideas, all these little things that you can do to tweak your portfolio, they really make a difference. You don't have to come in and create a whole new financial concept. Just simply manage your debt, establish a plan, have your investments outpacing inflation. Should you work a little bit longer? Should you delay Social Security a little bit longer? All of these strategies we can provide the answers to and develop a well-rounded plan that can weather just about any financial storm. Always remember, your debt load is going to be critical. We just had a client leave our office yesterday. Basically, the clients had made a decision. They wanted to finish paying off the mortgage. The mortgage was north of $2,500 a month. They were 4 years out. They were going to double up on some payments and make sure that by the time they retired, they would have an extra $30,000 in income that they were spending at this point. Little things can make the biggest difference in your financial situation.
504-732-1001. You can do it over the phone, do it over Zoom. But John always appreciates shaking your hand, looking you in the eye to begin these conversations. And John, 2 locations of Cypress Financial. Where can we find you?
We are in the heart of Metairie, 3421 North Causeway Boulevard, just a stone's throw from Lakeside Mall. On the North Shore, just across the bridge on Florida Street. Again, we would love to meet you. You can find us at cypressfinancial.net. Many of our clients don't want to call. They'll just go online. They'll book an appointment online. In fact, you can even do the comprehensive risk assessment right from the website. Again, 504-732-1001. If you'd like to have a conversation with people who really care, if you'd like to have a conversation, just give us a call. We will treat you like family. 504-732-1001. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to help you solve some of these things that may be keeping you up at night. cypressfinancial.net.
Investment investment advisory services offered through Cypress Financial Group, a registered investment advisor firm. Registration is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Cypress Financial Group, John Scallan, Louisiana Insurance License Number 1064997. The firms are separate entities. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company and are not offered by Cypress Financial Group. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties.